What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Cowboys Digest. I am Jace Andrews, and I hope you are having a fantastic day because we have got some huge news to break down for you. More moves are coming for the Dallas Cowboys as a brand new report reveals a wild update into the Cowboys' search for a new linebacker. This time they are dipping into the trade market, and we have details on their top target at the current moment. Before we get into everything, I need to ask you a quick favor. We are literally 9 subscribers away from hitting that 15,000 subscriber milestone. It would mean the absolute world to me if you could hit that subscribe button right now and help us get there. I cannot thank each and every single one of you enough for the support. Now let us get right into the video. Day number 2 of NFL free agency is officially underway. There have been a couple of signings this morning, but nothing really affecting the Dallas Cowboys directly. However, there are some things we learned about what the Cowboys' future plans are, and that is what we are going to break down for you today. First, let me recap what the Cowboys have done so far. These are all the moves from day 1 of free agency. Although the first one did not even have to do with free agency. It happened a couple hours before the tampering period began when the Cowboys traded for defensive lineman Rashan Gary from the Green Bay Packers, sending a 2027 fourth-round pick their way. The Cowboys also signed safety Jalen Thompson, which personally was my favorite move of yesterday. I really like what he brings to the table. The Cowboys were looking for secondary help, and they got a guy who can disguise his coverages really well. That is going to be valuable in Christian Parker's defense. Then late last night, and some of you saw the video and some of you did not, but either way, the Cowboys resigned defensive edge rusher Sam Williams. I did get a note this morning from Calvin Watkins that Sam Williams is going to be an outside linebacker in the Christian Parker system. Just a quick note on that positional flexibility. So what is next for the Dallas Cowboys? They have made these moves and they can continue to make more. We got a bunch of different updates today, and the first one comes from Jane Slater that talks about the Cowboys' interest in Patrick Queen. Here is what she said. Let us see where this linebacker search lands. Interest is still there with Patrick Queen, but still work to do. They got close with Nakobe Dean. Will they still pursue a similar deal with a few left or address needs in the draft? She said she would be back on NFL Network today with the latest. This was followed up by Underdog tweeting out that the Cowboys and Eagles are among teams that have been inquiring about linebacker Patrick Queen's availability. It does seem by all accounts that Patrick Queen of the Pittsburgh Steelers is available, and that is probably a good thing. I continue to go back and look at the Cowboys depth chart and say, yeah, we could really use a linebacker to add to this system. And if you look at the free agent linebackers still available, they do not exactly scream top-tier guys. Now, Leo Chenal is somebody I actually do like. He is relatively cheap at less than $5 million in market value. Besides that, I just do not know. Dre Greenlaw was released yesterday, and I think there is potential there, but I am not sure. I just do not see a guy on the free agent market that is a slam dunk pick, whereas Patrick Queen, he has got a lot of potential, and I think he would really change the way this defense is played. Now, Nick Harris had an even more detailed report about Patrick Queen. Let me read you what he said. The Cowboys have been largely wiped out at linebacker. A tough day there in Dallas, no other way to put it. I am keeping an eye on Patrick Queen at the moment. A handful of teams have called Pittsburgh about a trade, including the Eagles. Dallas has kept a hand in the mix for this exact scenario, but there are still some things to work through and conversations behind the scenes that need to be had there. Sounds like Pittsburgh is hunting down a mid-round pick. I personally think the best they can get is a 5th rounder, which would work in Dallas, because they cannot really give up a 4th rounder or better. We will keep a pulse on it. Nothing imminent, but worth monitoring at this point. Besides that, in terms of free agency, he says that Caden Ellis and Leo Chenal are the best available names on the market. The Cowboys will need to get creative if they want an impact player. There is just hope on the draft board that falls their way at picks number 12 and 20. And he has got a good point. Ultimately, Shedder Sanders and Abdul Carter and those top linebacker prospects are the guys that I think would change the tide for the Cowboys. They most likely will not make it to even pick 12, much less pick 20. So with that being said, I feel like you have to try and address this position in free agency or through a trade, because I like our chances at getting Malachi Moore or another defensive back at 12. I think that is honestly the best plan for the Cowboys unless something changes. But in terms of linebackers, you have got to go out there and figure it out. So let me break down Patrick Queen for you. He did not have the most amazing season this year statistically, but it was really good. 17 games played, 120 tackles, 1 sack, 1 forced fumble. He has been a really talented player for his entire NFL career. You go back to his stats through his Baltimore career and then going into Pittsburgh the past 2 seasons, and he has been that guy at inside linebacker that would really change a lot for the Dallas Cowboys. He would help out in the way that Christian Parker runs his system. Now, a trade is the way this has to go because he is with the Steelers. He is locked into a contract, and ultimately, to get a player like this, I think it would not take that much, especially with the contract situation he is in. I understand there is a lot of hype around him, and the tackles are there, and that is a good thing. But you know how I am about PFF grades. His is not great, 44, which puts him 78th out of 88 linebackers. But again, if your stats change the way I look at you, then I do not care about PFF grades. So I can kind of get past what we are looking at for Patrick Queen. As we saw in Nick Harris's tweet, the potential trade for the Dallas Cowboys would have to include a mid-round pick. According to multiple reports, I doubt the Cowboys will give up their 2026 fifth rounder. They might, but that just makes it to where they have 3 picks from pick 1 until pick like 200 in round 6. Now, they did get some compensatory picks in the 5th round, which kind of helped yesterday. But here is the trade that I could see going down between the Steelers and the Cowboys. The Cowboys would receive linebacker Patrick Queen. In return, the Steelers would receive a 2027 5th-round draft pick. This is the best case scenario for the Dallas Cowboys. I think it is ultimately something that helps the team. It allows for you to have a little less worry on the linebacker side because I do not want to have to go into the draft thinking we have to get a specific linebacker. Because in that situation, you are probably looking at a potential trade up to go get one of those guys. Or the worst part, you do not sign anybody in free agency. You do not get a trade done. Somebody else trades for Patrick Queen, like the Eagles. And then after that, you do not get anybody in the draft. And your linebacker room is just as stale as it was last year. Now, that is not what we can have. I know Jerry Jones knows this, but you cannot go into next season with the same linebacker room. Obviously, Kenneth Murray was a big problem there, but Damone Clark and Jamal James and Devin O'Connell are not going to do it when you are trying to run a new 4-linebacker system that Christian Parker is going to work through. But I want to ask your thoughts and opinions on this trade. Would you accept it? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments section. If you would trade for Patrick Queen with this deal, then type T for trade. If you are saying, no, I am good on this, then type P for pass. Let me know in the comment section. I am making the trade personally. The linebacking position is pretty run thin in the NFL free agency market. Like I said, yeah, there is Caden Ellis who would fetch about $9 million. There is a chance for Leo Chenal, but none of these guys can compare to what we would get from Patrick Queen. I think that is the biggest thing to me. Leo Chenal this past year had 14 games played, 58 tackles. So half the tackles that Patrick Queen had, 1 interception. Again, he was a backup linebacker, a rotational linebacker with Kansas City. He would be a starting linebacker from day 1 with the Dallas Cowboys, but he is not on Queen's level. In terms of Caden Ellis, I like him a little better. 107 tackles, 17 games played. His PFF grade is a little higher, 3.5 sacks, 1 interception, 1 forced fumble. I think there is a lot of upside to Caden Ellis. $9 million for him is right about the mark that I think would fit. However, I think there are better options out there, and I still think Patrick Queen is the better option than Caden Ellis. It is strictly about what the Steelers are asking for and whether the Eagles are going to bid you up on it. If the Eagles are working on this trade as well and say, hey, we will offer a 4th-round pick, then you are kind of out of luck. You are not going to offer a 3rd-round pick. You do not have a 4th-round pick this year. You traded your 4th-round pick for next year to the Packers for Rashawn Gary. So if you can stick in that 5th-round pick, yeah, you can maybe outbid the Eagles just based on where your pick placement would be, but there is not really a fine line on that. Now, we will see how it goes. I would not mind Caden Ellis. I am not sitting here saying I do not want him. That would be horrible. No, but you need to get a linebacker. I wanted a very good one because I think that would really help out the way we see this defense. And if you can get one, I feel like it completely changes the way we can view this team. But right now, we are kind of waiting on any news from Patrick Queen. Again, you heard in the reports, nothing is imminent. It seems like a move is in the works, obviously, whether it is a signing or whether it is a trade. I still see the Cowboys looking at some options in the free agency market as well, and we will have to see what goes on. The bottom line is this Cowboys Nation, the linebacker position has to be addressed. Whether it is Patrick Queen through a trade, Caden Ellis in free agency, Leo Chenal as a cheaper option, or hoping somebody falls to you in the draft, something has to happen at this position. I personally think the trade for Queen makes the most sense because you know exactly what you are getting. You are getting a proven NFL starter who can come in day one and anchor that linebacker core. A 2027 5th-round pick is not going to hurt you in the long run. But that is all we have got for you here today on the show. Again, we will keep you updated with everything we know as this situation develops. If any news breaks on Patrick Queen, we are going to be all over it. Remember, we are just 9 subscribers away from 15,000. Hit that subscribe button and help us reach that milestone. Drop a comment letting me know if you would make this trade. T for trade, P for pass. For now, though, we appreciate you and peace out.